Hey guys, welcome to another Seven show. I think today we have some guests. I think needs no introduction with the people who are into Web3 marketing. Just before started to record the podcast, I was telling Justin, really thankful of him to do this podcast at a such a short notice. Like if you see, that InfoFi is now gone, and normally in CT, at least in my feed, I have seen marketers are not that respected, but this man has earned respect for himself and taught so many people via his program, his cohorts, and his educational materials. But now that InfoFi is gone for good, there is a really upsurge of energy of marketers, agency, people are, who want to do something for the crypto marketing and stuff. And you have also seen my tweets, maybe a few, how I'm trying to, talk about that. Also running around an agency, about the good parts, the bad parts of InfoFi being gone. But I just thought that, I want to talk with the man of crypto marketing who has taught so many people, who has such a big name in the space and who has seen the evolution of the space firsthand. So, I think that is quite a detailed introduction, but, welcome Justin to the show. Again, I'm saying super thanks for doing this on, quick notice.
Yeah, happy to be here and excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. Justin, I think before we come up with the trendy discussions and topics around, InfoFi, the upsurge of Web3 marketing again, and how things are going to look up, just want to know quickly about your background. Like, where were you, like, before crypto marketing started, and how you got introduced to the space, and then eventually how you found Safary Club?
Yeah, for sure. So my background is all in marketing. I had done marketing and growth at two different marketplace companies in Web 2. These companies, both of them were gig economy style companies where on one side you had people looking for jobs, and on the other side you had companies that were trying to hire them either for daily work or for like more long-term like full-time employment. And so my background is at the first company, I was doing more community-led growth, building a community of developers, and then using that community to match developers with full-time jobs. And in the second company, I was more of this gig economy style company of daily jobs, like it was basically Uber for warehouse workers. Um, in that company, I was doing more like full scale marketing, performance marketing on Facebook and Instagram, and job boards, as well as building out the company's first experimentation platform. So that was thinking about how to deploy financial incentives strategically and at scale across all of our US markets. So my background is a little bit of everything from like the growth and marketing point of view. And a lot of people say that I have kind of the perfect backgrounds from Web 2 to be into Web 3 because my background, if you hear, is mostly community and mostly incentives. And so I got into crypto. It was actually interesting. I had always been looking for different mentors in my marketing world, and one of these marketers was the VP of marketing at another gig economy company called Thumbtack, and this was June 2021. I was talking to her one day, and she was like, "Yeah, so like." There's this thing like Web3. I'm starting to explore it more. I think it's going to be like the next thing. And I was like, but like, isn't like Web3 like so far off from like being a thing? Like, and she was like, Justin, I think it'll happen like sooner than you think. And then like fast forward 4 months to November 2021, like I'm in the space as a founder, and she became the VP of marketing at OpenSea. So we both like entered at the same time, sort of serendipitously. Um, and so that was like, my early entry into crypto was learning about DAOs, learning about like different community coordination models. That was what was really exciting to me personally. And in this sort of learning about DAOs, we were like, we can start our own community, and what would that look like? And so we launched Safari February 2022. The first batch launched. So now it's been 4 years of running Safari officially. We're recording this podcast on January 20th, 2026. So it's about this time. We probably sent out our first announcement post that we were going to start a community. It started as a group of 40 people. We accepted applications for it, and we got 200 people applied to sort of set the stage. Crypto marketing was like really not a thing at all in 2021, 2022. There were people that were obviously doing marketing, but nobody called themselves a marketer. I think that there was both like sort of fear of like, imposter syndrome of like, what am I even doing? I don't know what I'm doing, which definitely still is like the case today. But I think even more so, like devs and the technical aspects of crypto and like TradFi aspects were so heavy in 2021 that I think that a lot of like true marketers maybe felt a little like embarrassed that they didn't have as much to like provide because they hadn't been recognized as like being such an important part. The focus had really been on devs and like sort of like financial quants are the important people in this industry. And like if you do something else other than that, then like you don't really matter. So our whole intention was to bring crypto marketers together to help them, help bring recognition to how important this field was in a similar way to how it took many years for growth as a function to become known in Web 2. So that was our original intention.
Before asking you some more questions around Safari, I just quickly want to know how you came up with the name of Safari and, then the lion logo, which is now so relatable with whenever somebody talks about Safari.
Yeah, it's funny, like me and my co-founder, and this happens with a lot of founders, right? Like you're experimenting with a lot of different ideas. And so truthfully, I don't even really remember how the Safari name came to be. We had so many different companies, like I mean, like, different ideas and logos and brands for different types of things in a very short period of time. So like probably, in the like 6 months before Safari, we had Pup Jobs, which was like our like job marketplace. We had Puzzle, which was like a DAO tool. We had like this, that, and the other. So like we were like launching and firing off all these different like company experiments um, that I don't even truly remember where the like Safari, log like Safari brand came from. Um, a name, but you know, that's the job of being a marketer as well, is like you might start with like the strangest name ever, but like can you make that iconic, right? Can you make that something that people remember? And soon, even very much within the first like year, 6 months of Safari, like we got that lion to go everywhere. Then, a lion emoji became like our like rallying call. Like this was very much before. I feel like a lot of crypto companies in the 2024, 2023 times started to adopt like characters and like animal mascots and these types of things. But this was very much before all of that had happened as well. So we knew that this was going to be relatable and fun. And that's how you build like a really strong brand.
Awesome. Like, Justin, one thing I want to know from you that what is Safari now? Like, obviously, it's a group of Web3 marketers. There are cohorts, where people get introduced to Web3 marketing. I know many people whom I am work with, who are at very senior positions. They recommend me other people who are into marketing. Go join Safari, upskill yourself. And I think last few months back, I also found it some sort of certification kind of, you become a Safari certified marketer. So, like this, what are the avenues Safari is currently focusing? Is Safari also offering marketing services? Because there's you who has seen the growth of marketing. There is, you have such a deep web to marketing. So, what are the things Safari do at this moment?
Yeah. It's funny, marketing services is basically the only thing that we don't do. Um, and so we basically we think about ourselves as how do we empower marketers with everything that they need within their career to grow. So the first is we have the certification that you mentioned. That's for both up and coming, but also for highly skilled marketers to learn what, best practices and different different tactics make sense in real time. So this is like a 4-week growth boot camp where both we educate, but then also the community that gets formed around this certification learns together about what what each person is trying at their different companies. So they get a lot of different unique perspectives because the other people that take the course are also like very legit marketers. And so it's like this sort of like us teaching them, but then letting them teach each other. So this sort of unique learning experience. Um, and then, at the next stage, we have our jobs marketplace that we recently launched about like 4 months ago. So we have a job board where we have all the jobs, all the marketing jobs across the industry in one place. So niche job board specific to marketing, growth, and sales. Um, we're also offering like placement services. So for companies that want to hire a great marketer, we have the supply, we have all the relationships with all the great marketers throughout the industry. So we'll sit down with teams and work with them to help them find the next great marketing hire. Um, then we have Safary Club, which is for like top CMOs, the most senior marketers. It's similar to the Safari certification, but like less us teaching and more peer-to-peer learning. So we basically create all the different ways for marketers to meet each other, to learn from each other, to think about are the each of the unique challenges that each of the people that join Safari Club has, and then match them together. We do one batch annually, 80 people. For that. And then our final thing is we have our tech platform. So we built a sort of Google Analytics for Web3 style platform, does marketing attribution for crypto, which means how do I know that Twitter is driving on-chain volume, for example? How do I know that other different channels are driving the on-chain metrics that I care about? And then also this suite has evolved into a full-on customer data platform. So you can think about it like Mixpanel or Amplitude. We are able to show you the full funnel and the full user journey that somebody has taken across off-chain web, different marketing channels. Like here they came, they followed you on Twitter, then they went to your website, they connected this wallet, then they came back 2 weeks later, connected that wallet, then they went down your whole funnel and made the transaction. So we're basically showing like a 360 view of all user behavior regarding to a certain either individual wallet or a certain cluster of wallets that represents a single user. So that's been sort of our bread and butter is we're customer obsessed and we're helping marketers be customer obsessed as well through our platform.
I think what really amazes me and really pleases me by seeing Safari Club because we are at a space where it's mostly speculative, very short-term attention and short-term focus. And I think I also joined, as you mentioned, the space in 2021. That time narratives used to stay maybe 3 months, 4 months. Now I think I'm seeing it, a week passing and things are getting died up. But at a space which has such a short attention spans for all users, consumers, the VCs, it narratives, this today they will fund prediction market, tomorrow they will go to stable coins, the developers, builders. But something where you have able to build such a brand which is very fundamental focused and which directly attack fundamentals. Like, many people, if you see you have, much vivid experience of marketing than me, that 19-year-old, 20-year-old, nothing wrong with the age, but not such experience, calling themselves as marketers. But if you see, they have running Discord, maybe running Twitter. But marketing is not like that. As you mentioned, actually thinking throughout the customer funnel or maybe what the actions they will take and how you'll eventually grow the protocol. That's the end focus, right? So I really, that's the level of brand building with a positive work you have created. All the top marketers, whenever they are talk, they put Safari in that space and you guys never had token, never do any shilling activities, as you mentioned, never do any services. It's just goodwill, you know, how Safari has came to this far. Then kudos to you. For sure, it takes a lot of hard work to reach till here. Uh, Moving on to the next part, I think the trendiest part of now is the death of InfoFi. I think over the course of year, I think almost little more than a year when Kaito came, I think DEFCON Bangkok in like November 2024 when InfoFi first came, and then it took over entire city. So much so that I think certainly the marketing agencies are hampered because hey, if you raise maybe 1 2 million or maybe 3 million, you put 150K initially. That beyond ChatGPT and Claude being so smarter, you used to get so much engagement, impressions, mindshare. You promise certain rewards, you do TG, you get those 100 people who keep showing up in the various leaderboards, and boom, you are, doing marketing for your project. You just hire one guy for, managing stuff out there. But correct me if I'm wrong. I, person, as I mentioned, talk with very senior level marketers and about running big marketing agencies. They're like, yeah, dude, it's tough, and you know how InfoFi has taken over, how to make a brand and other things. But it's now gone, for good or bad. I'll leave the, give the mic to you. What's your thought, like when first InfoFi came? Obviously, you have seen the journey. What's your thought then? What are your thoughts, the good, bad of InfoFi, and what's the state now? Now it's that gone. How the, space is at this moment?
Yeah. Um, I thought that InfoFi was very clever when it first got started. So, a lot of people I feel like didn't really think about InfoFi till probably like February 2025, but it really got started in the back half of 2024. Yaps launched, but it launched to like a small group of like marketers and like marketing people were like starting to explore it. I think that the other context that a lot of people looking at InfoFi didn't have is that Kaido had a product that was like about measuring mindshare before all of this like frenzy happens. And a lot of people, a lot of marketers were looking for alternative ways to measure the impact of what they were doing, right? So, Safari took one approach for measurement, which is like attribution, which is the way that most companies throughout time have measured the impact of their work. But I think as time has gone on and things have become more social oriented, you need a secondary method, right, to measure the impact of your work, because direct attribution has become harder and harder to do, not just for us in crypto, but for all companies in throughout the world, because of the like rising privacy regulation has made it a lot harder to be accurate when it comes to like measuring impact. So I think that what Kaido was smart about before all this was thinking like, hey, as social becomes more and more important, and social is really, really important in crypto, we should build this sort of like alternative measurement system to say this is what matters and doesn't matter. Um, and they're sort of original. So, like for me, I was actually using Kaido like 6 months before that, right? So, like we were a customer of Kaido's in like June 2020 four. So like 6 months before we were a customer of theirs, learning about mindshare, looking at our own mindshare, exploring these different metrics, and that's how a lot of marketers. I think that this is sort of the great evolution that people don't appreciate about Kaido is that they had a working product long before they TGE, and there are people that were core to that had been using their product and thus they believed in it. I think that the story would have been very different and a lot shorter lived for Kaido if they had like not had a product. They did like a like Yaps thing and then like TGE like a month later. I think that we would have seen a very, very different effect and reaction from, the people that were meant to benefit. So I think that like I give Kaido a lot of props for that. That they, in my opinion, went through things the right way. They experimented with a product for many years. So they had a live product for like 3 years before. It wasn't exactly what you saw, but they had different evolutions of a thing. Um, to then, Yaps as like this big like lead into a TGE. So I'd say like if we think about InfoFi, they were the original successful company of their own product. Is like being able to like draw up this yapping system. But I think that like with every marketing system ever, not just in crypto, what we see is that first the top brands take advantage of a new marketing channel. So like we saw Chain in the like late 2024, early 2025. They were like one of the first. I mean, like obviously Chain is not what it is today. We're talking about this like a year and a half later, but like at the time, right, that was like probably like peak Chain mindshare. Like they were the hottest project in late 2024, early 2025 when this was going on. And they definitely, I think, also really benefited from using the like Yaps InfoFi system. But as what we see is like, top brands, then mid brands, then bad brands adopt a channel. And so like for me, like looking at that, we see that throughout the year is like, if they started with Yaps in like say like November 2024, their TGE was in February 2025. By the time their TGE hit, it was kind of the beginning of the end, in my opinion. The best brands were in that window, November to February, launching and getting sort of like the lion's share of like this is a new innovative thing and yada yada. Um, when then like mid-tier brands started to enter like around February. And then in my opinion, when Cookie launched their competitor, which was in June 2025, that was basically like the real beginning of the end for me. I was like, I was like waiting to see the launch. And I think that like, we can tell a lot about the death, in my opinion, the death of InfoFi happened around that time when Cookie launched Snaps. And we can tell that because, in my opinion, Cookie's product was much more visually appealing. Their UX has always been extremely, extremely strong. I think that they are, yeah, one of the few companies in the space they've launched a lot of different products and they have consistently good UX. I think whoever is their UX person deserves medals because they're doing UX much better than many other companies in crypto. They had a better UX. They were basically like everyone was like complaining before that like Kaido's product's so expensive. I don't remember what it was. It was like, once 2,000 a month. So everyone's like bemoaning that. Cookie 3 comes in and they're like, no, we're gonna make like all this like mind share thing that like has been gated around Kaido. Like fuck that, we're gonna make it free. And then like we're also gonna launch our Snaps thing, and the UX is much better. It's like in a cleaner thing. Kaido's like very dark tone brand. Cookie Through is very like light tone, fun colors, but like in a tasteful way. So by the fact that like they had things that it was the same system, but like dressed up in like in my opinion like a much nicer, um, more accessible way, but like it kind of flopped, like in my opinion. Like it didn't reap the rewards of that. So that showed me as like a market participant, like InfoFi is dead. Because and then after them we saw, a lot of like mid and bad copycats of Kaido and Cookie launch after that, which got even less attention. And so in my opinion, InfoFi has been dead for a long time. There's no serious marketer that I know that did a Cookie campaign or a Kaido campaign after like June, July 2025. So in some ways, I would say this has been priced in for a while. That InfoFi has been dead, but now it's obviously officially dead. But I'm sure there will be new things that will come that will be similar. This type of thing doesn't just go away, and obviously we saw this like in many ways quests are just like InfoFi is just like the V2 of quests in terms of like rewarding social engagement.
Justin, you mentioned one thing that, 2025 in June, July, you kind of figured out, or, that InfoFi is not going to work. And with the launch of Cookie, that was very, you got certain that's not going to work. Can you take us a little bit deep? What made you think? Because, if I see as an outsider, okay, I think June, July, things were very nice. There were good amount of, projects which were listed in Kaito. Cookie, since I work closely with Eigenlayer, they had a board in Cookie, and they used to measure mindshare there. But to be very honest, instead of me being my bread and butter being crypto for the last 4 years, thinking about marketing and stuff, I didn't anticipate that it will come down, so drastically. I figured out around November, December, by seeing Kaito boards that suddenly the quantity of projects have diminished, and it was mostly fluff projects which are there. So I realized now or later this thing is not going to work for sure. It's a very short-lived thing. But obviously, this API pull of thing I was not clear. But as you mentioned, and I see conviction in your voice and in your thing. If you can, maybe tell us three things, but then you realize, ki, dude, this is not going to work, or something is heading towards, wrong direction. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first big one is the quality of companies that are using something, right? So that was the first indicator for me is the quality of companies that wanted to do this dropped dramatically. Um, Now there are a couple different reasons that could be for. I don't know this. This isn't like confirmed. I don't have insider intel, but I would assume that companies like Chain that were part of that early wave that were hot companies, I assume that they did not pay Kaido anything to launch one of their like things. They were like a proof of concept. But the later companies that had to, launch had to pay a lot, right? Like, I heard quotes like 100,000 to like launch your dashboard, like USD, and then like X% of token supply. Like it got quite crazy, right? So I could imagine that that might have put off like for big projects that were legit, that might not have been that. I mean, like 100,000, like might have been like okay for like smaller companies. Like obviously that starts to get a little crazy. Um, so I think that like that is like one early sign to like look at for like the sustainability of like a new marketing channel, is like are um, well-known top brands continuing to invest in this channel or not. I think was the first like early warning sign, and that shifted very dramatically by June 2025. Like there were not that many um, legit projects still like being added to Kaido at that point in time. And, you know, if InfoFi was to be successful, I would say that like a lot of challenger brands would have jumped into Cookie and said like, oh, well, this is like a cheaper alternative, but like still like from a legit company. That would have been like, the window. If this was like going to be sustainable, I would have expected more of that, right? That a lot of that Cookie would have gotten actually a lot of the like challenger opportunity to Kaido to get brands that were like it's kind of ridiculous to pay like 200K worth of like token slash cash to Kaido, but like we'll give 50K to Cookie and like call it a day. I think that like probably that's what Cookie was hoping to capture, and I think that if InfoFi had I think two things. I think if InfoFi had longer staying power, and I think that if Cookie had launched earlier, that would have happened for them. I think that they were way too late, in my opinion. I'd kind of already, I believe that like, us and Cookie probably see similar things. I started to think very seriously in October 2024 whether we wanted to like build like a Kaido competitor. This was like right as Yaps was launching. I was thinking to myself, like, do we want to go in this mindshare direction? What does this look like? Um, let's say that they're, a little less, in tune than I am. Maybe they probably would have had this realization like December, January. Um, but it still took them, if that's the case, it still took them 6 months to launch a competing product. I think they could have done it if they had done it like right after the TGE. If they'd done it like 3 months or 4 months, like right after the TGE of Kaido, I think that they would have been a lot more successful. But I also think that the whole InfoFi narrative would have been shorter if they had launched quicker. So what I'm trying to say here is Cookie, I think, could have done better if they had launched faster, but the whole wave would have been tighter than it was. It got more drawn out as like a second coming with Cookie launching so much later, because essentially it was like 9 months later. So they kind of like revive, in my opinion, like if they hadn't launched, InfoFi would have died by that point in time, but they kind of like launched a second wave that continued to carry InfoFi longer. But in my opinion, it was already dead. I think that a lot of people, a lot of top marketers had felt that way. Another like, a different kind of signal. I'm not going to out this person, but like there's a very influential marketing person that's more influential than me in crypto, who um, got a huge Kaido airdrop, and I had been tracking their wallet to see when they would sell. And they sold like probably like April-ish time. They held for a really long time. They're still like shilling Kaido. And then they sold. And I was like, oh shit, I should sell. And then like I did, and then I forgot about it for like 2 months. And then I was like, damn, I really should have sold when they sold, because they like captured that moment perfectly. So I think that there was a point of, I think that like TGEs as well for a lot of companies are the beginning of the end. We saw that. Now I think that like Kaido actually, like even before this, if we look at their like token price, they're actually doing like really, really well compared to the majority of companies. And by well, I mean like they were flat, right? Like they're like TGE price, they were able to maintain like 1.3 billion FTV for like many, many months, versus everybody else like down like 90%. I think I think that's the other thing that was problematic about InfoFi is like InfoFi was supposed to be your marketing strategy, but like you did InfoFi and then your project was still down like 90% post TGE, like within like 2 weeks, right? So it's like, was that really like the best thing? Like, I think the like one thing you have to remember when you're building a company or a tool is that your tool, you can only be successful as a company if you help your customers be successful. And if all your customers are down 90% within weeks after using your strategy that was supposed to promote their thing, then like you're not going to make it. Like this is a racket that's only going to last so long. And so I think that like, you know, we we saw the death of InfoFi throughout 2025, but I think that we also saw the death of TGEs throughout 2025. I'd say would be my hot take. And that the InfoFi narrative and marketing meta really might have accelerated the end of TGEs as well. There were way more TGEs. They all needed mindshare. They all needed some kind of like, you know, something to show that they were doing great. But in reality, I mean, I think that if you looked at probably all the companies that launched on Kaido and Cookie over 2025, I would imagine that probably maybe three of them are like maybe flat. Maybe like one is like up, three is flat, and probably like 200 are like down 60% or more in their token price within, you know, weeks of finishing a campaign or maybe days. So I think that that's an important point too as well. So like in conclusion, it's like one, follow the brands, two, follow the money of the influencers, and then three, like look at like the larger space, like this was accelerating the end of another marketing meta, which was airdrops done in a big dang way that had been happening throughout 2025.
Awesome. So, Justin, you mentioned one very interesting thing that InfoFi was packaged as Quest V2, right? So since 2021, I was never a on-chain a hunter or a maybe airdrop hunter. I didn't understand that thing, to be very honest. I prefer being writing, getting the acknowledgement that you write well and stuff. Till very late, I didn't make any money out of Kaito. Like I didn't know that I got decent airdrop from Kaito. And then my friends were, made good bucks. He's like, dude, I saw your profile. You have like 1,000 odd yaps there. And okay, what is this yaps? So because I was, never into that hunting phase and whatever. Then I realized, there is some opportunity there. Then the moment I started feeling, okay, let's see something, then I, see that thing is coming down. One thing you mentioned that in through be it from 2021 till now, reward is a very important factor for Web3. It can be for two reasons. One is we are a crypto as a space can offer you quick exits, easy liquidity, and money is way more accessible than other industry here because hey, we are after all changing the how money moves and money equity and everything. So that is maybe one of the point reasons why rewards are little easy than other industries. Second is we are still very nascent in comparison to anything. Like although we can see an upsurgence of AI, but AI is there for like forever. Like recommendation engine is the core of AI that's like there for like 20, 25 years. Versus crypto, which has only been mainstream for like maybe 5, 6, 7, or 8 years. It was only BTC and ETH for the longest amount of time. So my question to you is how are you seeing rewards getting played now? Because we know that airdrop thing is not working. TGs are not, everything is falling flat. InfoFi is dead. Uh, will more and more projects will move out of this token thing and focus on the core fundamentals? This is happening for sure at one level because all this institutional capital being coming in stable coins and all. But I personally don't think that rewards will be washed away completely. There will be maybe another iteration and then we'll see it might dried up and go away. What can be the another iteration based on your analysis and thinking?
Yeah, I think that so like if we look at the history of like incentive mechanisms, which also correlates with the marketing metas, first we have airdrops, right? Like 2020, which is just like that what they're rewarding is low quality on-chain use, aka like, did you interact with my protocol, right? And then Quest comes and it's like low quality social stuff, right? So it's like follow us on Twitter, retweet this thing, right? Then points come and it's like low quality social stuff still, but also like sort of mid quality on chain stuff. Like we want you to like go and interact, like a deeper interaction and list of interactions than what happened in airdrops, but kind of still the same like low quality social stuff as like quests. Then InfoFi comes, right? And it's like, you know, now it's like high quality social stuff. That was like the an initial intention. We also saw that as well, right? Like there were initially, and this is why like the top brands basically like reaped the rewards of InfoFi before it died, is like you had high quality creators that were legitimately talking about brands, and then like throughout the year that high quality became like low quality again, right? So like in my opinion, that also sort of showed the slow death of InfoFi was what is the quality of content being created by people. And as soon as something starts to get farmed, then everything becomes low quality. So, right. So we have this like the quality is slightly raising as we go throughout the marketing metas, and then switching between like on-chain matters and social matters, on-chain matters and social matters. So what I think it would be reasonable to say is next is going to be high quality on chain stuff of some kind, right? Like high quality usage. How do we evaluate that? We already did high quality social. Now, the next will be the flip, which would be high quality on chain or mid quality on chain. Um, I think social will matter less. But now the question is like, what is high quality on chain going to look like? And I think that one of the things that we saw sort of revealed in the points meta is that it's really difficult to measure what true high quality on chain looks like, and that's why points became kind of mid quality. Is that they didn't fully figure out like what are the right clusters of actions that predict LTV and drive retention, and those were sort of like early experiments into measuring like what are the on-chain actions that actually matter for my like long-term protocol success. And so I think that there will be a new version. My prediction is that there will be a new version of that. Of the new next meta will be measuring and rewarding high-quality on-chain actions. What that will look like, I don't exactly know yet. I don't think anyone knows, but I think that this is where things also get interesting, right? Is it going to be in this like DeFi way, and it's going to be rewarding DeFi protocols as we had sort of seen throughout these past metas? Or is this going to be more so on the side of like the payment infrastructure companies? And the payment infrastructure companies, I think, are going to have a lot easier of a time actually measuring what high quality usage looks like, because they'll be probably embedded within existing applications. So they'll have a lot more customer data to say like, this is actually Justin, and Justin has like this wallet, and these are the things that he's done off chain in this other way. And they'll be just stronger data driven companies. I think that like the Safari with our growth, our customer data platform, we've been like banging the drum for like 2 years trying to get crypto companies to be more data driven. But you know pair that with like now the payment infrastructure companies, this like TradFi FinTech 3.0 that's coming to the space. They've been data driven for the last 15 years. So they're going to like blow these crypto companies out of the water. They're going to have all of the like on-chain data elements mixed with all the historical off-chain elements of customers from like decades back. So they're like in like this superpower data to be able to actually reward high quality on-chain and high quality usage in a way that I think the crypto companies have just failed to do, because they haven't been very data driven, but they also haven't been very data driven because their projects have been like 3 months to 1 year products. Like we've seen this. I mean, like obviously I have a lot of respect for Cookie 3. I talked about them before, but like they pivoted all over the place. They've like hit every narrative possible. Like they started in our space with Google Analytics, and then like a year and a half ago, they went to AI agents. And then like 6 months later, they went to InfoFi, and now InfoFi is dead. They're going to go somewhere else to market intelligence, probably, now. So it's like, the companies that continue to be in the narrative have had to pivot their whole product every 6 months. And so you can't really form a strong data foundation if that's how your company is built. And that's been the case for a lot of crypto companies, frankly. The ones that have made it have, you know, like I always say, like, I felt this more and more, like best founders in crypto are probably not going to be the best founders in Web 2. And the best Web 2 founders would not make it in crypto because of this reason, right? Like the like normal way to do like get product market fit is like you're in a market and you slowly iterate on your product until like people like it and like value it enough. But in crypto, like the market moves just as much. Like the market grows and it shrinks and it grows and it shrinks. It goes this way and it shrinks. And so like, yeah, you know, it's you're actually have to be more focused on the market than the product in crypto in order to like figure out what people want. So yeah, that was a long rant to say that I think that the next distribution mechanism is definitely going to be high quality on chain, but it might be coming from these fintech TradFi 3.0s that have the data and the capabilities to actually measure what high quality usage looks like.
I think, Justin, this is why I wanted to talk to you for so long that each of the things you're mentioning can be really a one big podcast. Like in data-driven crypto marketing, or maybe Web2 founders can't make it in Web3. So we can I think have separate episodes for each one of it. You know, over time I have also learned that people like fundamentally we know you as a marketer, right? We know as your bio mentions that marketers of and the marketers of marketers. And I also know that, okay, you are a OG marketer, but you were somebody I closely associated with, as I mentioned, people who has fundamentals. And over time, I have also learned that people who are good at one thing in fundamentals, they can actually track at anything. So I think we can actually talk about maybe VCs, Web3s, funding mechanism, and so much. But I don't want to drag this podcast, too long. I think obviously you will have work. It's already there, and we can have a conversation sometime later. I got really excited, talk to you. One last questions, before we close this for now is that as I started with about, talking about the Web3 marketers and Web3 marketing agencies post InfoFi. And if you see in your TL also, there is a very upsurgence of things in the TL. Many organizations are promising that, hey, we are launching KOL programs and KOL programs. Come join us. They are getting clocking engage numbers. But this will not last. Like people are coming out of desperation because they have nothing to earn and now they're coming. Not gonna lie, I also did that hack and I also saw, so many DMs flocking inside my thing. I just mentioned, hey, we have this agency, we can also do something for you. And because people are acting mindlessly. But anyway, from a fundamental standpoint, what are the roles of maybe, now Web3 marketers and Web3 marketing agencies? Or since we have kind of moved away from core on-chain and DeFi to more TradFi and traditional stuff, maybe Galaxy, Zeely, Quest, maybe airdrops, TGs are not going to work that much. As a Web3 marketer, as a Web3 marketing agency, how they should, position themselves or, get clients or, get to work with protocols. What are your thoughts around it?
Yeah, I think that, mine is that it's all about the fundamentals, for sure. I think that we're undergoing like a very crazy shift right now. I think that a lot of people who have been in crypto since 2021, like you and me, are feeling like a very drastic shift that we haven't felt before in crypto, of things really feeling like Web3 is like dead. Um, but TradFi and fintech are like adopting blockchain rails. And so it's like very strange to be like, in one way, everything that we always wanted is happening, but it's happening without us, basically, right? Like I think that's the like feeling that people have right now is like the crypto natives, like have been like talking about blockchain and blah blah to everyone for like the last however many years. Now everyone else is a believer, but they don't care about us anymore, right? I think that that is creating like a very strange shift, that is just getting more and more intense, and I think will continue to get more and more intense. I have a really good friend who's a like influencer in the fintech payment space, so nothing to do with crypto, and he is like now like converging into our worlds, but with companies that I've never heard of before, right? It's like, oh yeah, this company is doing like blockchain infrastructure, wallet infrastructure, payments, da da da, stable coins. This he's like every fintech company, their leader is thinking to themselves in 2026, how do I adopt stable coins? It's like the AI of fintech, like the AI wave of like 3 years ago of like, oh my God, every company has to like adopt AI. like that kind of like feeling hype bubble, like craziness. He's like, that's what every like fintech company and TradFi company is feeling right now. It's like, what can I do to implement stable coins, which are the hot thing, into whatever it is that I do? And so that's why we're seeing this like tidal wave is like coming over us. But it's a tidal wave that we're not necessarily included in. And so that's where I think that things are starting to shift drastically, like on the macro. And because of that, then I think that like customer centric experiences become even more important than ever, right? The people that we're fighting off against have been insanely customer centric. They do very specific things, right? Like how to move payment from A to B, how to move money from A to B, right? Like banks or, payment services, different providers. They do one very specific thing and they have optimized that thing immensely. And now they're just doing that same thing, but with blockchain. And so they have a huge leg up over crypto companies. I think that like on one hand, like I feel that really like strongly, but on the other hand, what I am also sort of like feeling the tension of is like, but it's crypto. Is this just another hype cycle or not? Right? Like if we like scroll back out, like right now, it like feels like payment infrastructure is eating everything, and like nothing is going to be the same anymore, and like everything is fucked for us. But if we scroll out, like you know, it was like November. So like we're talking like 3 months ago, like it was prediction market everything, right? Call she raised at $1 billion, and then like Polymarket and like this, that, and the other. And now we're like in the like payment infrastructure is eating everything and has been for like the last like 2.5 months. And it feels like that's gonna be like the future gonna take us out. But maybe that's not the case. I don't know. I think that like a lot of crypto companies, and this comes to marketing, are like waiting for the dust to settle on like, is payment infrastructure going to eat all of crypto like it seems like it is going to right now? Or is this just another narrative? In the same way as like Web3 brands are going to launch loyalty programs. So like that was a whole narrative like, 4 years ago. And it seems like that was going to happen. But like, are all these companies actually going to adopt it, or are they just going to start plans to adopt it? But because they're enterprise companies, it's going to take them 2 years. So actually, like, this is going to get pushed way off into the future in terms of like the eventuality. So I think that like from a marketing point of view, I'd say like you have to be like really like tight to the tides like right now is like see where the shifts are headed. Like, is crypto over, or is this just the precipice of there's going to be a new thing coming around the corner next? So I think that that's where the role of marketing is right now. And I think we're in a weird time. I think that this is like for sure the weirdest time that I've experienced in crypto over the last 4 years. It feels like, things are very consequential. If they go one way, then like crypto is dead. I mean, like Web3 is dead as we know it. But also this could just be a narrative. And as these companies, you know, they'll just talk about wanting to adopt stable coins, but they won't actually do it. Not in the near term. That could, unleash a, DeFi summer 2026. Who knows, right? A new wave of something new. So that's what I would be, both for products, people, founders, and marketers to be like very dialed in and like, one, trying to understand like this payment infrastructure hype cycle that we find ourselves in, and see if it's like, and talk to people in fintech to see like how real it is. But at the same time, have your like nose to the ground of like what's exciting in Web3 crypto land and see whether there's something that's going to come about there too. I think that there are many things that are outside of these as well that are going to become hot. I think that in crypto, we ignore a lot of the real businesses that have real fundamentals that exist. They might not be hot, but they make lots of money. These are like the cybersecurity companies in crypto, right? Like the marketing agencies. There are a lot of like businesses that never reach the hype cycle, but are endure year after year. Their businesses grow stronger. So there's a lot to look at right now, but I think that we are in a very bizarre time. And I think that for a lot of people, it's hard to figure out how to market because they don't know what the market is. And I don't know either. But those are my thoughts for that.
Awesome. I think I can't imagine putting these things any better way. Like personally, I was also thinking that, as you mentioned that you and me kind of entered in the similar space. Obviously, I think you have much more strong observation and, experience in what you do versus me for sure. At least I believe strongly. But, I was thinking the same thing. Even few people who asked me, how is the space and now? How I used to be super convinced about some things, maybe a year back. Now I'm myself convinced and I stayed. I don't know what's going to happen. And it might be so that in 6, 8 months, we don't exist as an industry and we be a subset of fintech. There is a high probabilities. So much so, I think 2 days back, I was about to write an article about crypto is now a subset of fintech. I was starting to write it, then I thought, okay, fine. I'll keep it for later. We maybe study, something. And now I used to study a lot about tech protocols, about how Ethereum is doing. Now I'm trying to study, what Trump's Greenland take is going to impact, gold versus, Bitcoin. Because these are so related now. And I think macro is coming in a lot. And with the Clarity Act, and now US government is trying to include stable coins there. And as you mentioned that, even great to hear this from you. But I was myself thinking that I'll talk to fintech folks because everybody cards are everywhere. Even I'm from India, at a place where crypto is not legal or not very used to in common people's terms and all. Here also we're getting cards. And just now I got a ready Argent card and because it's now widespread. Wallet Connect launched their Wallet Connect Pay. You can just pay via your wallets. So yeah, I think thanks, Justin. I was just got excited talking with you. It started from marketing, ended with institutions, and we actually don't know how the space is going to turn out, in 3, 6 months. Hopefully, we'll chat with you very soon. Maybe, talk about how Safari has, grew till that point, and obviously your observations and thoughts about how the market is going to do next. Maybe we get some Quest 3 kind of, iteration in the space. Maybe we see us as a fintech guys, they all brand us as fintech. But it was great conversation with you. Wishing you and Safari all the very best for the upcoming endeavors and months.
Yeah. Thanks so much. It was great to be here and great chatting with you about all this.